I condemn the way the Telangana government has treated Allu Arjun. And I am personally delighted that my arrest and my judgment in my fight against the Maharashtra government has come to use, and it has been quoted and referenced in the bail being given to Allu Arjun. I congratulate him for that. I condemn the Congress party for its high-handed action. And ladies and gentlemen, while the Parliament debates it out on who endangered the constitutional ethos, concerned citizens all over India have watched the logjam in Parliament for the last 2 weeks. From the contentious issues of constitutional amendments to tackling the fake narrative on the Constitution being in danger, with each passing day, there is a great need for some constitutional clarity. And my next guest on the debate tonight is the best that there is on this subject, Harish Salve. We have Harish Salve with us. I would say the country's topmost jurist and former Solicitor General. And I would say, as far as the Constitution is concerned, without hesitation, I would perhaps rate him one of the finest lawyers, advocates, and defenders of the Constitution in court and outside in the country today. Harish Salve, it's a privilege. Now, there is a parliamentary session on the Constitution. There's a political issue as well, because the government seems to be going into this session saying, listen, we have not done anything to compromise the Constitution, and yet there is this whole argument of Samvidhan khatre mein hai. Our Constitution is in severe danger. Let me begin with a broad question to you, Mr. Salve, and Rhythm is also going to join us on this, that in your view, is there a need for this ongoing debate? If so, why? And what purpose does it serve beyond political posturing? Mr. Salve.
So there is a need for this debate. And there is a need for this debate for two reasons. There was only one time where the Constitution came under a shadow. Of course, it's ironical that those who brought the Constitution under a shadow today are leading the charge of the Constitution being in danger. But it doesn't matter. It needs to be debated. Is there a threat to freedoms? Which brings us to the more important question of where does the threat to freedoms emanate from?
Yeah.
Now that we have put provisions of declaration of emergency under which constitutional rights can be eclipsed, as they were in 1975 and 76, where is this threat to the Constitution coming from? The threat to the Constitution comes from proposals which are defying the judgments of the Supreme Court without a full debate. When you talk of people, of sharing of resources in a particular manner, and when you are selling this idea of anarchy, saying that we must make sure that the poorest of the poor get an equal share of the resources of the country, these are fires which are lit, which become very difficult to douse. And once these kind of fires are lit on the ground, then the rule of law comes under a cloud. Governments are pushed to the corner where they have to suppress freedoms. And that's where things start unraveling. So, first of all, there must be an agreement on 2-3 issues if you have to prevent a threat to the Constitution. The constitutional institutions should be allowed to work in the spirit of the Constitution. And the two biggest constitutional institutions are Parliament and the courts. As far as Parliament is concerned, we need to have a rule of conduct of how Parliament should now be run. This kind of yelling and shouting, and we see this on TV, and it's disheartening. So many people there have worked very hard and want to make a speech. You can't hear what they are saying because there are some people who are shouting slogans. Parliament is disrupted. Parliament is meant to enact laws. Nobody is paying attention to that. You have to see how laws are enacted in the UK Parliament. There is a first reading, there is a second reading, there is a third reading, clause by clause discussion. When have you last seen that in Parliament? So this is how we have to restore the good sense of Parliament. I mean, important laws are passed in 45 minutes, and most of the time is wasted on rhetoric of relatively little national relevance in Parliament. I mean, the streets are there for protest marches. Parliament, you want to make a token protest, but Parliament must go on. So this is one important debate which people must have and come to a landing. The second is the working of the courts. And I say that the working of the courts is to some extent in a state of disrepair. It is in a state of disrepair for two reasons. The rule of law mandates the availability of judicial remedies. A judicial remedy which is interminably delayed is no remedy at all. What are people willing to do and put our heads together to find a solution to this huge pendency of cases? Can Parliament get together and find a solution? And it is not by amending law or simplifying laws or by rebranding certain laws. This has to be done to find out, do we need more investment in resources? The answer is yes. Where are we going to find the resources? How are we going to put them in? And the second, and I dare say, we need to set right the system of appointment of judges. None of your problems, including overreach by the court, and there have been frequent instances of overreach, will be sorted unless you fix the system of appointment of judges. It is in serious disrepair. It doesn't work. Now, these are matters which, and other important issues of federalism, are matters which people who are elected to office must sit down and debate seriously. I'm sure there'll be points of view, there will be contradictions, but that's what debate is all about.
Yeah, but Mr. Salve, all of this is happening in a particular backdrop where we have seen the opposition have a singular campaign that the ruling party, the BJP, wants to subvert the constitution. And this has been a political campaign, that there is a subversion of the constitution.
Isn't this an excellent opportunity, Arnab, for people who understand constitutional law to get up and say why they say the government is trying to subvert the constitution, in what way? Not the rhetoric of the constitution, but the principles of constitutional law, which according to them are being transgressed by the government.
But then you also have the specter of the Supreme Court being drawn into this, and the Supreme Court forced to clarify in a particular statement last year or earlier this year that it is not going to fill the space of the opposition.
The trouble with Supreme Court.
Yes.
And I'm sorry they
trouble with the Supreme Court.
Yes, I say there is a problem with the Supreme Court. The judges must go back to the day where judges spoke through their judgments. The trouble is, judges today speak in court, make comments, and if you read the proceedings of the day, it says case fixed on another date. And the media picks it up, and that then becomes a basis for one or the other political group to try and embarrass.
Now, would you blame the media for it or the judges?
No, I blame the court for it.
The judges.
You are there to report what is going on.
You're saying judges are seeking to be headline grabbers.
You must tell the people. You must tell the people that this is what a judge said.
No,
but the judge must not say it.
But the judges have a tendency to be headline grabbers. Is that what you're saying?
They are. I'm sorry to say they are, because they have stopped speaking as much through judgments as they do in comments which they make in open court. And it does create embarrassment. It does create problems on the ground. You've seen it. And why did the court have to go on the back foot and clarify they are not here to play the role of the opposition? Could somebody point out that there is a judgment which you have given which has created this perception? Or does the perception arise out of comments being made by judges when a case is being heard?
Are you saying that judges in the past have been tempted to play the role of the opposition? That they've got swayed with the amount of power that they wield?
You know, the problem, Arnab, is this institution is not meant for this kind of freewheeling debate which goes on in court today. I've said this before, and I'm saying this again. The discourse in the Supreme Court, the vocabulary of the Supreme Court, was never what it used to be 20 years ago. That has to be brought back. That has to be corrected. You have to have issues of law being debated in the court, and judges must hear. If they have questions, they ask. Gratuitous comments about the government or the opposition are all unnecessary. And today, in the world of social media, in the world of transparency, you have to be very careful of what you say. Aren't people in public life careful of what they say? Aren't you as a journalist very careful of what you say? You're a journalist of repute in India. If you make a loose comment today, it will be quoted all over saying Arnab Goswami said this.
Yes.
Don't all of us have to be careful of what we say in this world? Judges have to have a greater responsibility because they do not join the battlefield. They stand away from the battlefield to judge. See, this is the trouble, Arnab. We have different perceptions.
Can we not have
a topic which is close to your heart, the change in the preamble. Why did you add the word secular and socialist when the great founders of the Constitution, who devoted so much attention and who put in all the constitutional safeguards, did not use these words? Do you think a person of the learning of Dr. Ambedkar or his advisor B.N. Rao or those who wrote the Constitution were unfamiliar with the English language?
Are you saying that we would continue to be secular if the word secular were not to be there in the Constitution itself or inserted as during the emergency?
The Constitution defines in Article 14 and Article 25 and Article 26 and Article 30 how rights of different denominations, and I'm deliberately not using the word minorities because the Constitution goes beyond and protects every denomination. The Constitution provides for every denomination. Why do you want to use words which are of general use and which may have different shades of meaning to different people? Do you think Dr. Rao or Baba Sahib Ambedkar hadn't heard the word secularism? Why did they not use it? Socialist. What do you mean by saying it's a socialist republic? Today, republics like certain republics in Europe, in one sense, are far more left of center than a country like India is. But they don't call themselves socialist republics. Socialism also has a different connotation where human rights are considered secondary to certain social norms. That is why the framers of the Constitution, who put our trilogy of articles, 14, 19, and 21, the right to life, the right to your 7 freedoms, and the right to equality. They call it the golden triangle. This is the basic structure of the Constitution, which you can't fiddle with. All this fits very ill with these kind of loose expressions like a socialist republic. According to me, India is already a little too socialist. We should be more right of center. According to you, we may be too much right of the center. We should be more left of the center. So can you, tomorrow you might as well put in the preamble, India shall be a centering and not a leftist or a rightist economy. Will it make any sense?
No, I think it's self-serving. I think personally, it's self-serving, it's elitist. And you're thrusting something which was not there, which in our
the Constitution should also accommodate. If the Constitution can accommodate Mrs. Gandhi bringing in leftists, if the Constitutions can accommodate communist people getting elected to Parliament and in theory forming a Parliament and nationalizing, the Constitution must also accommodate people who believe in free trade, people who believe in free enterprise, people who believe in laissez-faire. The Constitution doesn't decide how the country is going to run. The people of India vote for those who, at the times, represent the aspirations of the people. The Constitution is not meant to compel future generations to run India in a particular way.
So if we're looking at the India of the future, should we drop the word secular and socialist from the preamble of the Constitution?
We have to drop a bad habit which we have gone into. Every time things don't work, we amend the Constitution.
Now, of the 106 amendments made till date, over 80 amendments have been made by the Congress party, including the 42nd Amendment.
Mr. Palkhiwala, my late guru, used to use a very interesting expression. He said there is a famous saying, a bad workman always quarrels with his tools. If you can't get the country to work.
No, 1 minute. You're very intelligent. You're dodging my question. My question is, should the word secular be removed? I am asking Harish Salve a straight question. Should the word secular be removed from the Constitution?
For 2 reasons. I'm sorry, 2 reasons. Not just secular. Secular and socialist both
should be removed.
For 2 reasons. The Constitution's substantive provisions inspire people to run the country on the basic structure of the Constitution, which is already embodied. You don't need loose expressions in the preamble. And secondly, I am of the view, and of course, I could be wrong, but Mr. Palkhiwala's school of thought, that the Constitution is a statement of a historical fact. The people of India gave to ourselves this Constitution. It was a statement of a historical fact. In fact, there is no business changing the preamble. So, for various reasons, and it's wrong on so many levels, Mr. Palkhiwala used to give 3 arguments on why this preamble should not have been amended. One was, if the framers of the Constitution, for good reason, did not use words like secular and socialist, please do not add these words. And you have seen, history has proved, these words have not served any good purpose.
Yeah.
Second, the preamble is a historical fact. It says the people of India give unto themselves this Constitution. You cannot change that. And the third very lyrical thing he used to say is, the preamble is beautifully stated. Can you improve on Shakespeare's "the rest is silence" by saying that the rest is complete, absolute and total silence? No, you can't. You're adding verbiage.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.